Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Boruto episode review. And this week's episode is going to be coming out a little bit later than normal. It's probably going to be coming out on Tuesday because I'm going to render it tonight, which is Monday, and it's going to come out sometime early in the morning of Tuesday. So I do apologize for the review coming out a little bit later than normal because, or later in the sense that I usually either try to get it as close to Sunday, but then if I can't get it Sunday, I get it on Monday. And then there have been multiple occasions where I have to upload the video on Tuesday, and I apologize for that. But we're here to talk about the episode for Boruto, and this is the arc finale. This is Mirai's arc, and this is her finale episode. And I thought it was good. You know, I thought I thought it ended off the way that it needed to, and I think the way that it ended off pretty well. You know, because Mirai, of course, ultimately, learns more about herself. She kind of redeems, what happened with Hidan and, the Jashin religion because Ryuki, the guy who's, in the arc, the final part of the arc, the person that Mirai is fighting currently, right, in the episode. She ends up kind of redeeming the whole thing about how, Jashin, that religion, and then Hidan, killed her father, and she kind of, I guess, puts that moral quell, down, because in the beginning of the episode, it starts off with her, by chance, somehow, she ends up finding the documentation of, the mission in the day that Asuma was actually, fighting Kakuzu and Hidan, and along with Shikamaru and a couple of other people. I don't really know their names because I kind of forgot, but it kind of just recollects the days and the events that happened during when Asuma had died. It was Shikamaru. He wrote out the what happened. What actually happened. Hidan had immortality. If he sucked a person's blood into their mouth, they would be cursed, and then any damage that was done upon the person who casted the curse jutsu, whoever's blood he inhaled, would then be, subsequently take the damage in turn. And of course, Asuma died on the line of duty. That was said in the documentation written by Shikamaru. And that's pretty much just how the episode starts off, and it kind of just excuse me, I don't know what's going on with me today. It just shows how Mirai, ended up figuring out what happened, to her dad. Like, what specifically happened at the day of when he died. And it uses parts from the episode when Hidan was fighting Asuma, and I was like, man, that kind of takes me back, doesn't it? Especially because I'm currently rewatching Naruto, and I was like, man, I'm gonna have to watch all these people's deaths again and cry. I don't know what's going on with me. It's hard for me to talk right now. I have no idea why. So we figure out how Mirai figured out what happened to her father, and then it then goes back to the hot springs that Mirai and Tatsumi, the girl that's been with Kakashi and the others, for the past couple episodes. They're at the hot springs, and then the dude, Ryuki, is talking about, hey, take this holy water, and then when I tell you to drink it, you drink it. And then him and Mirai are talking to each other, and then she starts giving off information that, he wouldn't specifically know, right? Because she's still skeptical about it, of course, and she's trying to, as a shinobi, she's trying to, figure out what's going on with him, right? She's trying to pretend that she's being caught under an illusion. My neck hurts for some reason. She's pretending that she's being caught under illusion. She's talking about how, she's never met her dad, and then Ryuki's talking about, oh yeah, I've went and, talked to Asuma because I'm able to go to the after place or whatever, right? And Mirai's talking about how she got her name, and apparently she said this is false information. This isn't how she got her name, but she said that Asuma gave her name after a really genius and famous shogi player, even though she's really bad at it, as she points out afterwards. And then Ryuki, the Jashin religious guy, he's talking about, he's like, oh yeah, he's always wanted to meet you, and blah 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 blah. And then she's like, nope, I'm gonna call you up. I'm gonna call you on your bullcrap. You're lying. You're a liar. I don't like liars. And then, of course, they get into a fight, into a scuffle. Guy and Kakashi show up, and I was like, oh, okay. They're just gonna kind of show up out of nowhere. That's cool. But they ended up kind of helping out in the situation because Tatsumi, her blood was injected with by Ryuki, and then there was a puppet, and the puppet is what's used in order to sacrifice the blood to Lord Jashin, right? We ended up figuring that out later on in the episode because, of course, later on, I'm going to go ahead and skip forward a couple of things because they're not really that important. We go to a room, and apparently this is like a ritual site in a place where Ryuki is able to, sacrifice, a human, right? Sacrifice them for Lord Jashin with their blood and everything, and then they're fighting. And apparently, he was able to. Actually, before we continue, there's a part of the episode where this guy, Jashin religious person, right? He's talking about how like the new generation is garbage and how it's not better than the old generation and etc. etc. And because he was born in the era that they're in now, he wasn't able to be born in the same era. And if he was, he would have been able to fight side by side with Master Hidan, as he says. And I was just like I laughed because I was like, is this the writers being self-aware, or is this going to come back as for like the whole king thing? I forgot like what the quiz was, but what does the king protect or whatever? And I'm going to go ahead and just say it now because she ends up figuring out by pretty much the end of the episode. The king is meant to protect those of the future, right? The future generation. Instead of looking out on the past, you have to instead look on into the future, and that's what Asuma entrusted to Shikamaru, and then Shikamaru entrusted it to Mirai, which of course that's Asuma's daughter, and of course the subsequent generation of shinobi of that particular era. And it's a really good message. You shouldn't be focusing on the past because the more you dwell on the past, the more that you don't pay attention to the future and look right ahead of what's going on in your life currently at that point in time. Focus on the future. Don't focus on the past, because the more that you look on the past, the more that you're not gonna adjust to where you are now, right? So Ryuki, he is able to get a cut slice on Mirai, and then of course he injects the blood from her into his mouth, and then he sacrifices her to Lord Jashin. Nope, it's a genjutsu. And I was like, yeah, she's not gonna die. So this is either for some reason a kind of really weird clone jutsu, which doesn't really make any sense, or a genjutsu. And yeah, it's a genjutsu, and pretty much after that point, Mirai pulls out her really cool like kunai knives like that Asuma had, and then she uses a wind style jutsu on her kunai, and is able to land a hit on Ryuki and pretty much beats him. The rest of the episode is basically just her and Tatsumi kind of talking to each other, and they're kind of having a little bit of a moment with each other. And then as they're talking to each other, Guy and Kakashi start having a conversation with each other, and it was just I really liked this moment because it further solidifies the friendship that they have with each other. Because Kakashi, mentions if there was a hot spring that was able to cure what happened or heal what happened to Guy's leg. For those of you who know what happened to Guy in the war arc, Kakashi's basically insinuating that he would, do whatever he possibly could in order to be able to find, a location or a healer or a hot spring that would be able to do that. But at this point in time, it's already been 10 years since the war arc, since it's happened in the first place. And Guy doesn't really matter. All that matters is that he's here. It further solidifies, the whole lesson of the episode and the entire arc. Don't focus on the past, pay attention to what's going on now and towards the future. And Guy's pretty much, he's accepted what happened, and he's, completely acknowledged what happened in the past is in the past, and now he's able to live on in the future. And so what if he can't use, his leg anymore? he's here now and he's able to be side by side with his best friend. And it was just a really good moment that was really good for Guy and Kakashi, because you already know that they're eternal rivals, or they're best friends and everything. But it was just nice for them to have a little bit of a moment for each other, just in the episode. I thought it was nice. The rest of the episode is them walking towards back to the Leaf Village. Turns out Kakashi and Guy were actually out doing this as a mission. It was a mission the entire time instead of vacation, as they were saying before. And the reason why Kiba, Choji, and Tenten were all there in those locations in those specific episodes was because they were doing reconnaissance. They were getting intel. And the reason why Kakashi told Mirai that was a vacation and not a high-class level mission on searching for the missing girls or whatever the mission was, I kind of forgot. It wasn't on the missing girls. I don't know why I'm saying that. Of course, Midai's surprised, and he says to her the reason why he said it was just a vacation was because she would have been freaking out the whole time. It would have kind of ruined the whole purpose of the mission of trying to act as if you're just a casual person and just try to get incel. And Midai would have just would have been freaking out the whole time. I don't know why that happened. I'm sorry. And so Mirai is like, I wouldn't do that. And then, of course, she admits, like, yeah, I totally would have done that, whatever. They get back to the village. Boruto is there, and he meets up with Mirai. Mirai tells them what happened in the mission, that they, exterminated the rest of the Jashin religion, and they completed, the whole case of the missing girls that were missing, that were kidnapped, whatever it is, right? And I just thought that was funny because Boruto, of course, is really surprised and whatever. I thought it was funny. And then, of course, the rest of the episode is just, Mirai explaining to Shikamaru, the answer to the quiz. The king is to protect the future generation, pretty much, right? And they're playing shogi. Of course, they're playing shogi, and it was just a nice moment. Another nice moment with Shikamaru and Mirai. Because Shikamaru is, her godfather. And it was just nice to see those two interact with each other. It's really cool. And then the episode just ends with, her saying that she's the daughter of Kurenai and Asuma, and that her name is Mirai Sarutobi. That's literally how the episode ends. And it was the end of a really, good episode, in my opinion. I thought it was great. It further solidifies the purpose of the arc, and the message of the arc, and the message of the episode. And I thought it was great. Sorry if you don't agree with me. Sorry if you thought it was a boring episode. I don't care. But that's pretty much it for me for this video in particular, because I have nothing else down on top of the topic of the messages in the episode. Let me know what you thought in the comments, of course. And without further ado, let's go ahead and wrap up the video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. If you are new, subscribe for more videos just like this. I'll see you guys next one. Have a fantastic day. My neck really hurts. I'm out. Peace.